Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Okay, so today I am going to go over the health app graphs that are from Chris's phone. Actually, they're from Chris's cell phone and his work phone and his personal phone. He has two separate apps, like two separate, looks like two separate accounts or whatever that are recording two separate, information. So when he has his work phone on him, it's recording, it's keeping track of everything on his work phone, and then when he has a cell phone, it's keeping track, and it's doing it like two separate ones. Okay, so, and it's not from his Apple Watch. It looks like he didn't actually have the Apple Watch on at that time, so it's just from his phones that he has on him. It keeps track. So that health app gathers health data from your iPhone. So it highlights four categories: activity, sleep, mindfulness, and nutrition. Okay, so the health automatically counts your steps, walking and running distances, and that's what we're going to go over, is the steps and the walking and running distances. Okay, so I want to go over it from the night before, and then the morning, and then the day. So okay, so the first graph we're going to look at here is first of all, if anybody wants to check it out in the discovery, it starts on page 1763. Okay, so if you see, it says it's from August 12th at 10 p.m. to August 13th at 10 p.m. This specific graph we're looking at right here. Okay, so if you see on Chris's personal phone, he had a lot of steps between 11 and 12. Okay, at p.m. the night before. Okay, so it looks like he had around 350 steps, because if you see right there, that's at 500. So if you look, it looks like it's about 350 steps from 11 to 12 that night before. Okay, and if you look at Shanann and his text, that's about the time. Well, look, he tells Shanann that he was sleeping when she tries to text him. Here, I'll show you. Okay, so this is data from Shanann's phone here. So you see at 21:29, which is 9:29, Shanann made an unanswered call to Watts. Okay, and we know at 9:28 is when he started talking to NK. And here you go. There's her phone records. At 9:28, he had a 111-minute conversation with NK. Okay, so he just starts talking to her, and Shanann tries to call. He doesn't answer. Then at 9:44, she texts him, tried calling you to give you an update, was starting to board, and they announced that our crew isn't here yet, and yet it's going to be a minimum of an hour before they are here. Okay, so he still doesn't respond. Okay, so if you do the math, 111 minutes from 9:28 takes you to 11:19 p.m. Okay, so he talks to her to 11:19 p.m. He talks to NK, and then he gets off. And what does he do when he gets off? He texts Shanann. 11:21 is when her text, went through. So he gets off with NK at 11:19, goes and texts Shanann. Holy crap, sorry, I passed out on the couch. That's going to be late. When right there, we know he wasn't passed out on the couch. He was talking to NK the whole time, okay? Okay, so let's go back to the graphs here. So it doesn't actually show like what time the steps actually started, but you see there's 350 steps between 11 and 12. Okay, so either he was walking around a bunch towards the end of his conversation with NK, or I'm guessing, so his conversation ended at 11:19 with NK, and then he texts Shanann real quick. So I'm guessing that's when the steps started, the 350. I don't know what he was doing, to do 350 steps when supposedly, he was just sleeping on the couch, which we know he wasn't, but the Shanann, he was sleeping on the couch, but he was talking to NK, right, for, almost 2 hours, and then he gets off, and it's, late at night, almost midnight, and he is taking 350 steps right after the phone call. I mean, what is he doing in that hour? And then let's go to the walking and running distance. Now, this will take you before the phone call, okay? So we know he made that phone call at 9:28, okay? Okay, so we see between 8 and 9 and 9 to 10, in those hours, he has kind of a spike in the walking and running distance. So, that makes you wonder, what was he doing in that time period too? Now he calls NK at 9:28, right? So before he calls her from 8 to 9, he's doing some walking or running, right? And then either during the call or right before the call, because it doesn't show you like when it started, it just shows you in that hour, right? So either he was doing a lot of walking and running right before he called her and then calls her at 9:28 and all that was done before, or he was doing something when he first called her for like a half hour. He was walking and running and must have been exercising when he was talking to her. I don't know. And then he takes a little break. And then remember, between 11 and 12, he had almost about 350 steps. And you see the walking and running distance right there, goes along with the steps you could see. So right when he calls her, he's exercising, and he takes a break, and then he starts doing something where he's doing a lot of activity towards the end of his phone call. It could be that, or maybe he did it right before, and it just shows because he called her at 9:28. I hope you guys are following me here. Okay, so he could have done it, between 8 and 9. It looks like he got some distance and some activity, and then maybe 9 to 9:28, right before he called her, is when he got all of that activity in, and it just shows, that hour, right? And then he calls her, and then when he gets off at 11:19 is maybe when all those steps and activity is from the 11 to 12, just in the last half hour. And then the first half hour from 9 to 10 is when maybe that activity went on. And maybe actually when he was talking to her, he wasn't doing that. There was no activity. I'm not sure. Or was he doing a bunch of activity, that whole time? I don't know. I mean, all I know is, since it doesn't tell you the actual minute that he started, just between it shows from 8 to 9, he had a little spike in the walking and running, and then from 9 to 10 he also had a good amount, and then from 10 to 11, where we know he was talking to NK at that time, he doesn't have very much activity, and then from 11 to 12 he has the almost 350 steps, and then the walking and running distances, he has some activity there. So I'm not sure, what was he doing at that time period, right before he calls NK, has a lot of activity, and then what I'm guessing is that then when he called her, he just, didn't just sat down or didn't do much, and that was just, it calculated the whole hour of the distance, but it was only like that half hour is where he had all of that activity, the first half hour and the last 40 minutes of the 11 to 12. Are you guys following me there? And maybe when he was talking to her, he was just wasn't doing all the activity. But what was he doing basically right before he was talking to her and then right after? That was late, especially after. He gets off the phone with her, he texts Shanann, lies and says he's sleeping, and then he has all these steps. So, 350 steps between 11 and 12. Like, what is he doing? It does make you wonder if he was doing something before Shanann got home, or doing something to prepare before Shanann got home. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. And if you guys think, the activity between 9 and 10 it probably was all before 9:28, probably before he called her. And he just, what I'm saying? All that activity was the half hour before. And then the 11 to 12, he gets off at 11:19 off the phone with her. So then that's when all those 350 steps probably were after he got off the phone with her, is what I'm guessing. But still, like, what is he doing, And then real quick, I just want to point out, for some reason, I don't know why, but they don't have the steps for that night before. Now remember, these are both his cell phone, but they don't have the steps from the night before. Like they have the walking and running distance, but you could see the 11 to 12 they have, and if you calculate, that's about 350 steps. But the 8 to 9 and 9 to 10, where it shows the walking and running, it doesn't go back that far on the steps. But if you kind of use the one before, okay, so that height right there was about 350 steps. So if you kind of use that for a comparison, you'll see that actually the one between 8 and 9 is a little bit higher than the one on from 11 to 12. If you see the walking and running, the one between 8 and 9 is a little higher than the one from 11 to 12. So, and we know the 11 to 12 steps was like about 350. So the one from 8 and 9 is probably going to be a little bit more than 350. Not much, just a little bit more than 350 steps between 8 and 9. And then 9 to 10, it looks like, I mean, it's not that much lower, but so what? Maybe a little under 300 steps, So if we use, that 11 to 12 steps as kind of a comparison. So still a lot of steps to be taken, around that time if you're not working out, which maybe he was, I don't know, but it's kind of, I don't think he'd be working out from 11 to 12 right after he gets off the phone with her, because he, was he working out for like 3 hours straight, from 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and then 11 to 12? It's probably not that likely, but I mean, who knows? But he just had a lot of activity, so around maybe a little over 350 steps between 8 and 9, and between 9 and 10, it looks like it probably would equal out to a little under 300 steps. And then from 11 to 12, it actually shows the steps, and that was around 350 steps too. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'm going to bring up these other graphs now I'm going to compare. I'll show you here. Hold on. Okay, so here is the graphs from here. On the left is his personal phone, and then on the right is his work phone. Okay, so we're going to look at that the morning. So basically, Monday morning, early Monday morning. So you see up until 8 a.m., the steps are pretty much the same between the work phone and the personal phone. Okay, so you see there's nothing up until 4 a.m., and that's when the steps start. So 4 a.m. to 5 a.m., there's a few steps. And then 5 to 6 a.m., there's 481 steps. Okay, so I think, that's the time he did a lot of the stuff, well, that's the time we see him in that video in the morning where he's taking all the stuff out to his car. Okay, so he leaves his house at 5:46 a.m. Okay, and then remember, he gets to Survey at 6:53. So that's why you see from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. there's less than 100 steps, because most of the time he's in the car, in the truck. He's in his truck going to Survey. Okay, so from 7 to 8, he has over 400 steps. So after he gets to Survey, he's got to dig the grave. He's got to, take each kid up to the tank. So, I mean, that's a lot of steps for, an hour. So from 7 to 8, over 400 steps. So, and then from 8 to 9, well, 7 to 8, okay, then that's when it looks like he actually, so first of all, I just want to point out, the reason they kind of look so different is because on his personal phone, they're in increments of 500, you can see on the graph, and on the work phone, they go up by 200, as you can see. Okay, I just want to hurry up and point that out real quick. Okay, so around 8 o'clock, it looks like he must put his personal phone in the truck, is what I'm guessing, and then he still has his work phone, because remember, 8 to 9 on his work phone, he has 800 steps from 8 to 9 on his work phone. But by that time, that's when all his coworkers are already there. So he's probably just doing his regular tasks of the day. Like I said, it looks like he has his personal phone in the truck because there's no steps between 8 and 9, no steps at all. But then 9 to 10, it looks like somewhere in between that time he got his personal phone out of the truck for a little bit, or because there's a few steps. So I'm not sure. And then from 10 to 11, there's no steps again. So maybe he picked it up and made a call, or just picked it up for a few steps. But 9 to 10 on his work phone, he made 200 steps. Okay, so from 10 to 2, he has no steps or no movement on his work phone, right? And on his personal phone, he doesn't have any steps between 10 and 11, okay? Nothing. So I guess it's safe to say between 10 and 11 is like he didn't have any of his phones on him. I'm not sure, why that would be. That by that time, I think he was probably at survey 1029 or at a different location. Okay, so I just went and looked at the GPS from his truck. So he was at survey 319 until 9:30 a.m. So there's no movement, on his personal phone from 10 to 11 for some reason. So he would have already been at the other location. And then there's a few steps between 11 and 12, and then it kind of picks up between 12 and 1. There's some steps, like probably it looks like maybe like 350 or around there. And then from 1 to 2, there's barely any, and that's when he was driving home. He was driving home he left survey at 101, and then he got to that dumpster, that construction site at like 2:01. So he was there for 6 minutes, and then he gets to his house at 2:07. Okay, so that makes sense. There's barely any steps, on his personal phone between 1 and 2 because he was in the car. But for some reason on his work phone, as you can see, from 10 to 2, there's no steps at all. He must have put his phone in the truck. So it looks like he just must have left his work phone in the truck for like 4 hours, from like 10 to 2. Wow. Well, from 1 to 2 he was in the car, so that makes sense. But so basically from 10 to 1, and then he leaves survey at 1:01 and heads home. So he stops off at that dumpster, that construction site first. Okay, yeah, so then it picks up back up at 2. So that's when he gets home, and you see him come home and, shake the officer's hand and go into the Lexus, go into the house. But anyway, so it picks up between 2 and 3 where he shows, a few steps. So probably what happens is when he goes inside, he probably lays his work phone down somewhere. And then, his personal phone, you could see, is active the rest of the evening, so he has it with him. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you in this video. Let me know what you guys think about all that activity, from basically 8 to 9, 9 to 10 that night before, right before he calls NK, and then he talks to NK for almost 2 hours, and then right after he gets off the phone, he has basically about 350 steps up until midnight, like from 11 to 12. What could he be doing, all that activity? And that would be when, the kids would already be sleeping, and so it was like right before he talked to NK, he has all these steps and walking and running distance, or, whatever that means, and then right after. And then he's telling Shania that he's sleeping. So comment down below and let me know some of your guys' theories on what you think was going on in that time period. Alrighty guys, I hope you guys all have a good day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.